We are okay to come back another day to do another round of
Okay.
questions, interpellations. We have no problem with coming back. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Madam VP. We appreciate it. In any case, we'll resume. We'll start our question and answers, and we'll see where it takes us in the next 2 hours. Okay. So,
Madam Chair, just to reiterate that I'm in full support of the budget of the DepEd.
yes.
And my only question was, do you need more funds? And I'm sure the Vice she's nodding, that means it's the affirmative. So yun naman po how we can help. We will definitely try to help the DepEd in additional funding.
Thank you, the Honorable Senate President. Thank you.
Thank you. So let me just acknowledge the presence of our Senate President Pro Temp, Senator Lauren Legarda, and Majority Leader Joel Villanueva. And with that, let's proceed. In order, we call on our officers first and then the senators in order of appearance. So are you ready, Senator Legarda?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I welcome once again our Vice President, Secretary of DepEd and the DepEd family. I have a lot of questions, but I will not ask the questions now and will yield to my colleagues because of the limited time. And my questions are meant to help the DepEd family and its attached agencies, but I will no longer ask these questions because I know that I can talk to each agency on my own time, but I do not want to use the 2 hours left before the session. And of course, the Vice President, I can reach out to her and find out as well how we can help DepEd in terms of curbing, if not totally eliminating, let's say, learning poverty, which we discussed a year ago, and other issues pertaining to the education of the youth of our country. And so, Madam Chair, I will yield to my colleagues and listen to them. And if there are important questions still unasked, if there is time in the coming hours, then that's the only time I will ask. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Lauren. We appreciate that. Just as Senator Lauren said, our office will assist every senator's office in succeeding meetings, no? Because a lot of them actually cannot be solved even if we stay here for the next 6 hours. That's the reality. So let's put on record that for sure, like even my questions, I have a lot to ask, which I had in my preliminary meeting, but we will assist the other senator's office. Senator Joel, you're next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was looking at my notes and trying to find out how we can condense everything here, Madam Chair. First of all, we'd like to congratulate the entire department headed by Her Excellency, our Vice President, Sara Duterte. If you recall, Madam President, we have been meeting in the Education Commission together with the commissioners of EDCOM who are here today, Senator Pia, Senator Sani Angara, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian. And we have been talking about the education reforms that's needed in the country. And one of my pet bills in this institution is the Philippine Qualifications Framework. And during the discussions, you know, for quite some time, for about 5 years now, they only met 7 or 9 times, Madam Chair. But in the time of VP Sara, they were able to meet at least 5 times. So the past 6-7 years. So we hope that the PQF NCC, the National Coordinating Council, will continue to work with each other to really come up with the solutions that we are looking for in addressing the harmonization of our curriculums at all levels. But anyway, Madam Chair, I will ask some questions. Let me start by saying in 2024, under the Basic Education Inputs Program, there is an allocation of 26.2 billion for new school personnel positions. Ang sabi po dito, 20,000 teachers will be hired with an allocation of 5.7 billion according to the presentation of DepEd. If you look at the statistics, Madam Chair, POEA shows that from 2013 to 2017, an average of 1,500 teachers left annually to work abroad, Madam Chair. 1,500 po, no, from 2013 to 2017. And if you look at the ADB study, the teacher to, if we can, pwedeng palakihin natin yung slide. Sa ADB, teacher to student ratio in the Philippines is greater than Brunei, Malaysia, and Singapore with more than 20 students per one teacher. So concerned po tayo dyan, and we wanted to ask our friends from the Department of Education on how we can help. First, the question would be, what is the ideal ratio? What is the ideal teacher to student ratio, and how many teachers do we need to reach such ratio? And what is going to be the effect of the hiring target of 20,000, kung kaya man, for 2024 to address the teacher shortage in public schools? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Your Honor. Before I give it to our USEC for BHROD, Senator Joel Villanueva, I preside over the meetings of the PQF because it is shared by the Department of Education, and we actually sent you a letter requesting for your intercession with regard to budget for the permanent secretariats, because right now it is lodged under the office of TESDA. And we need to organize the permanent secretariat for the PQF. So if you can help us with the budget for the permanent secretariat of the PQF, that would be most helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Rest assured that we will do that. And as always, we have been very supportive of the PQF. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Our USEC Mercado of HROD will answer the question.
Thank you, BPSEC and Your Honor. Our shortage right now is 86,000, and for 2024 we have an allocation of 20,000. The ratio that we have currently is still 1:40, and so we are computing our shortages based on that. Enrollment and then teacher shortages.
And the ideal would be
1:30, right?
1:30. Is that the
Yes.
ideal? That is the target?
For operations, that's what.
1:30.
1:30.
Yes,
But,
and
there are still areas, Your Honor, that is still congested. We admit that, but that's being responded to in a different program.
yes, we wanted to find out the bigger picture here. So the past 3 years, for example, how many new teachers have been hired, and how many teachers have resigned, retired, and have otherwise been separated from the service? Because again, if you look at the statistics, as I mentioned earlier, in POEA po, nag-a-average ng 1,500 teachers every year who goes abroad. So assuming that there are 1,500 teachers per year that resign or work abroad, is DepEd capable to hire enough teachers to address and minimize the gap and still continue to reach that target that we are looking for? Because we wanted to make sure that we understand the situation, the challenges that we are facing today.
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor. For the past years, we've been receiving 10,000 allocation every year. It is only this year that we got a 20,000. We're currently doing a study on school staffing standards and other related studies so that we can really come up with a catch-up plan for the coming years. But the teachers that you're saying who goes abroad, we actually have a program for them. Ito yung sa Pinas, Ikaw ang Maman Sir. And for this year, we have allotted 2,000 teachers for SPIMS. And for the past years, yun yung isang, we have been doing that also for the past years. And this year, 2,000 po ang ating allocation for SPIMS.
Ma'am,
But
let me cut you there, no, because I'm impressed for time here. Perhaps we can ask for submission of a catch-up plan. How we wanted to find out, because you're saying from 10,000 every year, now you have 20,000, which is good. We wanted to support that move. If we can do with 30,000, 40,000, we are for it. But of course, yung capacity din, no? So can you just submit to this committee yung catch-up plan natin? How do we make sure na maging continuous yung ating programa, katulad yung binanggit niyo po, dinoble kaagad, which is a good thing, no? And I admire the department for doing that because at the end of the day, ito yung talagang heart and soul of our education system, no? Ensuring that we have enough teachers, quality educators to teach our young people. Next question that I'd like to pose. If you look at and I'm sure my colleagues here are so sick and tired of me for raising this particular issue, the issue of unfilled positions in government. And I have been raising this time and time again, and if you look at the unfilled positions in the Department of Education, there are 43,014 unfilled positions. From 2022 to 2023, out of 46,000 unfilled positions, only 3,415 positions have been filled. And you know, it's not surprising to us because you look at other departments, yun ngang sa DPWH, yung last hearing din namin, napakadami na unfilled positions. In fact, I will go further later and talk about the job orders, no? Kasi yung sa DPWH, sinasabi nila, job order sila, pero they keep on doing the same regular job of a DPWH personnel. So we wanted to understand, no? Because according to Inventory of Government Human Resources, as of June 30, 2023, meron ding job order ang DepEd na 15,140. So my question is, one, are these figures correct? Two, what is the nature of the positions mentioned that remain unfilled? And what positions, if any, have consistently remained unfilled for the past 2 or more years? Because, of course, we should be evaluating this every now and then. That's what I've been doing, no, to help the department to be more efficient. So, pwede ho bang malaman yung plano natin dito, Madam Chair? Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just to put you in context, the total that has been allocated already is 1,025,823. And traditionally, the pattern is that we always get a 4% unfilled. Kaya lang yung 4% po namin is, right now, it's 51,127.
It's bigger.
Yes, sir. It's bigger because this is based on August record ng GMIS. That's a live number, sir, Your Honor. It's there's retirement, promotion, and resignation, and we have the green lane, the SPIMS, the DOST scholars, and the 4Ps, and there are also positions that are hard to fill, and these are guidance counselor, which is 4,000, yung mga MAPI position, yung mga specialization, and right now, ang naiiwan po namin na 4% for 2023, ang aming we already started filling up the positions and it's already 50% of the allocation for 2023. Ang binabudget niyo kasi, sir, for a current time, July next year po nag-effect yung hiring nila. But the entire process starts at January. But I just want to point out that we're now HRM Prime Silver, Bronze, sorry, and that actually hastened the appointment process because we don't have to wait for the attestation in civil service. The moment we sign the okay na po sila, sir. Pangalawa, we also have a special hiring program which we're going to launch this next month, and this is a digital way of applying in the RQA without any human intervention, and I think that would be a very big help in the entire process.
Okay, thank you. No? So you were saying 4%, that's about 50,000 unfilled, but right now 15% are already filled.
Yes, sir.
And we're looking at, 4 months to go? And
Yes, sir.
you were saying sa July pa mag-i-effect yung iba?
And itong i-approve nyo na budget, July yun next year.
July yung okay,
Hinahire
okay.
namin
Yes,
ngayon
yes,
is
yes. Now I understand. So still, in fact, ma'am, in terms of percentage, mas mabilis yung sa DepEd, no? And I am hoping kasi na we'll be able to help in the process and yung binabanggit niyo ho kanina, no, July pa, because that will take effect from this year's budget deliberations. That
Pero
right?
January, sir, nagsisimula na kami
Nagsisimula na.
mag-announce.
Oh, and then at the same time, we are looking at yun nga, yung nawawala, nagre-retire or nag-a-abroad.
It's a live
no?
number po.
Last thing that I'd like to point out, yung sa non-teaching personnel, guidance counselors na binabanggit po ninyo, ano yung difficulties that you are encountering in hiring sufficient guidance counselors?
It's really the supply, sir. It's really the
Supply.
supply of the guidance counselor. But we're doing something about it. We're thinking of running a program for those who are intending to join us as guidance assistant, just so we can focus on the mental health program that we're working very closely with operations.
We have been discussing this particular issue actually here in the Senate with Senator Pia, Senator Angara, and Senator Win. Perhaps we can ask Madam Chair na lang yung data of breakdown ng shortage of teachers, if we can have by elementary, junior high, senior high, and areas of specialization, so we can respond accordingly in addressing teacher shortages.
Yes,
para
sir.
mas maintindihan po namin lalo. Ma'am, next,
With the indulgence of my colleague and my boss, the majority leader, and the permission of Chairman, just to follow up on that, may I request, similar to Senator Joel, the breakdown for the last 5 years. This will also give us some kind of perspective on the catch-up, because for us, it's very, very difficult to trace if we're moving forward, given that what only appears in the budget as submitted to the Senate is a lump sum for the creation of new teaching positions. So hindi na namin alam kung saan tayo napupunta. Alam namin na 86,000 nga yung shortage. Nahabol na ba natin nung last year, or are we running to stay in the same place? I think that's what we're trying to figure out. Will the day come to pass that we will actually have enough teachers finally? So kung maari nga ibigay yung last 5 years rin at yung breakdown ng mga lump sum nun, para lang makita natin, it doesn't have to be very long to be one page, tell me how many teachers for that year at ilan pa yung hinahabol. So Joel, pareho lang tayo yung catch-up plan, kasi parang hindi na mangyayari kailanman sa buhay natin.
That's really a great challenge, and thank you for raising that up, Senator Amy. If I may continue, Madam Chair, last point, I know that we're pressed for time. Another very important issue is the shortage of classrooms and construction of backlogs natin sa mga classrooms. No? For the past 3 years, I was looking at the backlogs, and dun sa presentation, there's 5,133 new classrooms which are targeted to be built in 2023. Of this, 187 classrooms have already been built and 711 are ongoing. So 711 plus 187 with the target of 5,133, parang medyo yung concern din ni Sen. Aimee is also my concern. So ang sa akin lang, Madam Chair, we wanted to find out how we can help. Is there a problem with the capacity of the government to build classrooms? And perhaps para ho ma-expedite na lang yung time, Madam Chair, so I can give way to my colleagues, siguro hingi na lang din kami ng submission of your strategy on how we can help to be able to achieve this targeted classrooms ng ating department. And perhaps yung DepEd's geographical prioritization of classrooms to be constructed. Kasi ho, isisingit ko, pasensya na kayo talagang, lagi ko sinisingit yung Bulacan. Tuwing baha na lang po yun, lagi na lang kaming nangangailangan ng tulong sa DepEd. But thank you sa mga DepEd officials who are helping us with the teaching modules na nabasa. And of course, ito rin ho, yung classrooms pa rin, problema pa rin. So I hope I can get the answers, Madam Chair, and perhaps just to expedite the deliberation of the budget of the department. I hope that we'll be able to get a copy or submission of these pertinent documents that we are asking for. And let me put again on the record that this representation fully support the Department of Education's budget. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Sorry, just for orderly procedure, I'd like to add na rin to Joel's last question. It was cited in the news that there's a shortage of upwards of 159,000 classrooms, and we know that a considerable amount under basic facilities enhancement is found in the DepEd budget. So perhaps what we will do also is to inquire how much has been allocated in the last 5 years so that we can see the progress, if at all, and see the utilization of the number of classrooms actually built for the sums allocated. So perhaps that would be the update and the catch-up plan would request. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Your Honors, Yusek Densing of the School Infrastructure and Facilities Strand will quickly answer the question.
Madam Chair, Your Honor, quickly I'd like to correct the figures of Your Honor. The 711 to be constructed are from the 2022 budget, and the 187 already built also came from the 2022 budget. What is, it's really the inefficiency of the developing the, of identifying the allocation, because the SARO for the 2022 school buildings budget only came out October of 2022. So it's really efficiency in allocation. For example, for 2023, we are targeted to build 5,133, and the good news about it is as early as May of this year, we already have the SARO for 15.1 billion. I think half of that 5.33 will be built within this year, and the balance will be in 2024. Because when we talk about multi-story buildings, it will take 920 to 250 calendar days to build a multi-story building.
Sorry, Yusek, just to
Yusek, can I
wind
just
back.
sorry, Ma'am Amy, no, just to put on record, because
Hold on. Can we, the person who has the floor is Senator Joel, then you ask the follow-up question.
Yeah.
So let me just let him settle his, and then you can do
Thank
another
you,
follow-up.
thank you, Madam
Okay.
Chair. I just wanted to put on record, sir, no, kasi kinukorek niyo po yung figures ko. The presentation you gave us says constructed 187 with 711 ongoing classrooms, 5133 new classes to be built in 2020. So sa inyo po galing yung presentation, just to put on record.
Apo.
Yeah, thank you.
What I'm saying, sir, is galing sa 2022 budget po yung ongoing construction.
Yes,
and tatapos.
yes, and I hope that we'll get the breakdown kung paano namin kayo matutulungan. No? Kasi binanggit nyo nga ho, nag-improve kasi May of 2020. But still, there's so much room for improvement. Would you agree with me, sir?
Yes, sir. In fact,
Thank you.
Your Honor, we've already identified for allocating the 2024 NEP of school buildings. 75 to 80% have been identified. In fact, we're looking at, after discussions with the DPWH, we'll be implementing the school buildings program for 2024. We intend to do an early procurement activity for school buildings, NewCon, by the last quarter of 2023. That's how fast we're doing right now, Mr. Chair. Now, for the shortage of classrooms, the actual shortage is 165,433, less what will be built this year. That we will end up to be at 159,000. The universal value of the shortage is around 420 billion. And if we want to address it in the next 6 years until 2030, we need a budget of 105 billion a year to be able to zero out all the backlogs, assuming a 12,000 classroom requirement, new classrooms every year, because we expect net enrollment every year. As long as our population grows at an average of 1.8% per year, we're talking about 500,000 net enrollees every year. Coming into the school
Madam Chair,
system
with the
every year.
permission of Senator
Of
Joel and
course,
Senator
please.
Amy, just what's the average cost now, Yusek, of a classroom?
Per classroom is 2.5 billion. 2.5 million per classroom. Meron po, kompleto na po yun, para ceiling
To be
fans.
clear. Oo. Kasi kino-compare yan sa dati na walang ganon. This
Opo.
one includes it already.
Madam Chair, I will wind up by saying thank you to our colleagues and the DepEd department. And I'm hoping that we'll get the documents that we are asking for. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes,
Senator Marcos.
if I may, yes, Yusek. Yes, ang sabi po ninyo, 5 to 6,000 lang a year ang mapapatayo at the rate we're going. Tama po ba?
Tama po, Madam Chair.
Yes, that's right.
Your
So
Honor.
that's going to make hardly a dent in the 165,000 classrooms. Ang iniisip ko kasi, kailangan yata may panibago tayong ideya. Hindi ko alam kung naabutan pa ninyo, medyo bata-bata pa kayo sa amin. Pero nung panahon kasi nung tatay ko, nadatnan rin niya yung napakalaking gap ng schoolrooms. At dahil dito, there was a new technology for prefabricated school buildings. I'm wondering if it's not time to do the same thing, to embark on another large school building program with up-to-the-minute modern building technology that will bring the cost down, the time will be shortened, and we can actually access loans already for a school building program. Kasi kung ganito ng ganito, hindi na natin mahahabol to forever.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Your Honor, we've already talked to DPWH and we asked them to consider, and this is through their Bureau of Designs, this new type of a way of building the classrooms, prefabricated. So we're awaiting the...
Actually, hindi po nyo yan eh. Yun dati eh. Kaya alam, bumalik tayo sa luma eh.
Opo. And just to make a significant stride on the school buildings program, while we cannot address the shortage in the medium term, Madam Chair, Your Honor, the DepEd, as approved by the Vice President, is we will focus on the medium term, at least to ensure that every learner is to be put on a regular classroom. Because based on our statistics on the ground, 1,004,000 students are being taught in makeshift temporary learning spaces and literally in open spaces. So from this date until 2028, I think we will be able to cover and make sure that every student will be put on a regular classroom. And moving forward on the long-term objective, all school buildings that will be put up will always be multi-story. No, we will minimize the one-story building because this is to be able to maximize the buildable spaces. There is also absence of buildable spaces as we move around. In fact, in Region 4 and NCR and some areas in Cebu City, wala na pong buildable space. So all that we will be putting up will be multi-stories, and the new legacy projects that will start in 2024 is to put up mid to high-rise buildings in areas where it is highly populated, highly urbanized cities, and areas where it is a catchment area of other adjacent LGUs.
Yes, which will once again require different technology from what we're using now, which is very old-fashioned traditional building. So perhaps we have to move on construction standards as well. And we'd be grateful for any information you could give us, given, as I said, that we have not been able to break down the actual numbers. And we'd be really cheered to hear that we can finally put an end to outdoor classrooms and multi-grade classrooms and such like. Thank you.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Your Honor, we will advise also DPWH on the proposed way or new designs, doing way of constructing our classrooms.
So let's go now to the Minority Floor Leader. Senator Coco Pimentel, you have the floor.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Can I start with the 150 million confidential funds for the DepEd? Is this still in the budget of the DepEd?
Madam Chair, Your Honor, Yusek Poa will answer the question.
Isek po.
Good afternoon, Your Honors. Yes, sir, it's still in the budget proposal of DepEd.
Can the DepEd also, just like the OVP, can the DepEd live without this budget?
Yes, Your Honor, but of course, this will make our jobs easier also in protecting our learners and teachers as well as our non-teaching personnel if we had those funds, Your Honor.
The total budget of the DepEd is it claimed to be already sufficient for all your needs or kulang pa?
Sa totoo lang po, kulang pa if we were to base it on the original proposal that we submitted, Your Honor, to the DBM prior to the NEP.
Which is what amount?
Around 953 billion, Your Honor, yung ating submission under sa DBM. But then prior to the NEP, after the budget deliberations, we recalibrated po our proposal And it was, and then we ended up with the NEP now, which is 756.85 billion, Your Honor.
Yung 953 ba, DepEd and attached agencies na yan?
Hindi po,
DepEd
sa ano
lang?
pala po, DepEd pala po.
Itong 756, DepEd lang din po ito?
Yes po.
Apa. So, ano ang kasama sa proposal na pinakatinamaan because the entire 953 billion was not approved?
Isa po sa proposal, Your Honor, yung ating, of course, yung new construction. Ang original proposal po kasi natin dyan ay 86 billion. Binaba natin ngayon to 19.697 billion. Isa pa po yung ating school furniture na noon ang unang proposal po natin ay 2.4 billion, binaba na po natin sa 44 million. At meron din po tayo sa school-based feeding program. Ang initial po kasi na gusto natin, may universal tayo at least kahit sa K-3, Key Stage 1. Ang ginawa po natin, from 70 billion po yung original proposal, binaba po natin ng 11.7 billion. Hindi na po siya universal for K-3, doon lang tayo sa severely wasted and wasted for K-6. Pero in-extend naman po natin, even with the 11.7 billion, to 220 days yung feeding natin from the current 120 days, Your Honor.
So, si Yusek po, Madam Chairperson, already identified parang 3 very important or flagship programs of the DepEd na which are not fully funded because DBM did not approve the entirety of your request. So, logic tells us na if you can live without the 150 million pesos in confidential fund, then maybe we can give that amount to these 3 programs na which are sorely lacking in funds, di ba? 150 million pesos at 2.5 million pesos per classroom would be actually contribute 60 classrooms. Not bad. Ano yung Yusek Bawa? Not bad.
Your Honor, as the Vice President always says, no, we defer, the DepEd also defers to the wisdom of Congress pagdating po sa larangan ng ating confidential funds. But the reason why we made the request was because, syempre po, with our mandate of providing accessible, equitable, quality basic education, kasama po doon yung pag-provide din natin ng safe and enabling environment. And really the threats nowadays, whether it be recruitment or drug-related activities, it's quite alarming in our schools. And that's why we requested for the confidential funds para naman po makatulong tayo sa prevention, of course, in coordination rin, lalong-lalo na sa response with law enforcement agencies pagdating po sa response sa mga ganyan. But these really happen. If I may just very, very quickly, the numbers, for example, for recruitment, 12.3% of the those who surrendered 2016 to 2020 were minors, 12 to 17 years old. In fact, we have information that 16 schools just within Metro Manila are involved in recruitment activities. These are public high schools po. We also have information that for drug-related, for example, 5,358 minors were involved. And just July 2022 to July 2023, 871 minors were rescued. Ito po yung talagang mga threats that are present in our schools that affect our learners, our teachers, non-teaching personnel. Kaya po tayo nagmungkahi ng confidential funds, Your Honors.
Can you just give this representation the source of your figures? Who gave you those figures?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sige, para lang ma-note namin.
Opo. As for the recruitment po, yung ating 12.3% na sinasabi kanina na minors na nag-surrender, that is from the East Mindanao Command. Yung pong nasasabi nating public high schools in Metro Manila, galing po siya sa NICA. Yun pong namang criminal activities, specifically drugs, ay galing sa PDEA. Meron din tayong gangsterism, which is a DepEd, DepEd info, which is 6,000 incidents of school violence reported per year. There's also reports of sexual exploitation that we are working now with, and we are working now with Council for the Welfare of Children, Your Honor.
Sige po. Basta for the longest time, ang DepEd, wala namang confidential funds, and then yung some of those problems there, matagal na rin pong existing yun. I'm sure there is a mechanism to address them, not only within DepEd, but involving other agencies already funded by the government. Anyway, that's my point, Mr. President. Ngayon, Madam Chair, now let me go to the 2.4 billion Dell laptop purchase case. I think the Ombudsman already acted on this and preventively suspended some of DepEd's personnel and some sa PSDBM, siguro yung iba doon. But what lesson have we learned from this contract or transaction or incident so that it will not be repeated anymore in the future?
Madam Chair, Your Honor, Yusek Romero of the Legal Strand will answer the question.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. In response to the query of the good senator, among others, the Department of Education already conducts the procurement of our DepEd computerization program in-house, Your Honor. In the case cited by the good senator, the procurement therein was delegated to the PSDBM. Among others, if I may continue, the department, through the Vice President, issued Department Order Number 1 earlier this year, by which a specific procurement strand was created. Prior to said issuance, procurement was undertaken by the administration strand, Your Honor. So this was seen as a failure to focus on the requirements of the department in its procurement activities. So with that, we now have a specific and dedicated procurement strand headed by Undersecretary Chan. And for this reason, said strand is able to focus on the procurement reforms required within the department. Thank you, Your Honor.
But DepEd will still avail of some of the services of PSDBM?
I believe so, Your Honor, for the reason that PSDBM is mandated as the central procuring entity for common use supplies and equipment. Until the law on that changes, Your Honor, we will continue to get our regular CSEs from bond paper, pens, and other regular items needed for the conduct of daily operations of all government agencies. However, while the procurement law has provisions on the engagement of procurement agents, whereby a procuring entity unable to conduct the procurement internally may do so by engaging the PSDBM. Current policy of the department is to refrain from doing procurement through procurement agents, and we are doing so everything internally. I believe there are also proposals to increase the number of our bids and awards committees so that we are able to undertake all procurement requirements by the central offices internally, as well as
that would be the direction now of the department as much as possible.
Madam Chair, yes, Your Honor, there is a USEC for procurement. Do you agree with the USEC for the legal strand? USEC Chan.
Legal ba si,
Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
Okay, so
Okay.
Yusek Chan is for our procurement strand. Sige.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is the direction now of the DepEd to as much as possible procure all of your needs, including the daily supplies needs?
For daily supplies, we follow the procurement with the PSDBM
Still,
since
okay,
since
sige
it is a CSE. But for non-common use supplies, as mentioned by Yusek Omar, it will be done by the DepEd itself.
Yes, okay. So, tama naman po yan para, kasi ang nangyari dito, andito nga yung expert sa tabi ko eh. Ito yung, siya may alam ng lahat dito po. Our chair of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, alam niya lahat ito. Ang nakuha ng DepEd is laptops which you did not even need. or request because iba yung specs na dumating sa inyo. So ang question ko to our Vice President, who is now the Secretary of the Department of Education, are we interested in recovering the amount that we have paid for this, for the laptops which were not compliant with the basic specifications even requested by the agency? Madam Secretary.
Madam Chair, Your Honor, we will discuss this with the Office of the Solicitor General, who will be the lawyer for any case filed by the Department of Education. Thank you.
Habulin natin. Kasi, ano pong feedback natin sa mga recipients na binigyan natin? Ginagamit ba nila o hindi ginagamit dahil kahit gusto gamitin, hindi naman kaya nung capacity yung dapat paggamitan?
Field. Yusek Escobedo will answer the question.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Yung laptops na binili from the DBMPS, most of them have complaints about yung speed of the laptop. So, yung iba ginagamit and yung marami hindi na magamit.
Yung gumagamit, reklamo pa rin kasi nga hindi nga up to specs eh. So anyway, I just want the Secretary, our Vice President, to hear my theory or my position that the entire contract was void. Void because what you ordered minimum specs eh. What was delivered was even below the minimum specifications that you ordered. So that's really a void contract. And kung void, the legal implication is magsaulian, balik. But these are, in my opinion, these are two independent actions. Magsaulian ng laptop, pero magsaulian din ng pera. And we should be able to require the supplier to return the amount that we have paid for the laptops. And then, best effort naman tayo, soli na rin yung nakuha natin for the amount because it's really not up to specs. And what's the point in spelling out minimum specifications or minimum requirements and then accept delivery below the minimum? Madam.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, before the Vice President answer, perhaps the good minority leader should give deference to whatever the Ombudsman is trying to investigate right now and moving forward to perhaps what the Sandigan Bayan. Otherwise, we will be jumping the gun on any decision that would be forthcoming. So, Madam Chair, with all due respect to the question of the minority leader, perhaps we should not jump the gun on whatever will be coming out in the proceedings from the Ombudsman.
Well, Madam Chair, the Secretary was ready to answer. And then the Ombudsman and Sandigan Bayan cases would be on the criminal liabilities of these people. Are they going to jail or not? Ang tanong ko lang, what is the position of the department on this particular issue? Madam Chair.
Yes, Madam Chair, Your Honor, yes, we take note of the advice of the Honorable Senator Pimentel with regard to the cases, and we are fully cooperating with the investigations of the Ombudsman and the COA because we requested a fraud audit last year when we learned of the problems with the laptops. We are also closely coordinating with the Commission on Audit with regard to the fraud audit.
Basta isang naalala ko lang dun sa insidente na ito kasama sa consortium na nagbid dahil magsusupply ng laptop is a construction company. I mean, does that even sound logical, Madam Chair? Anyway, that's not a question. Ano lang po yun, observation. The COA also pointed out some unauthorized bank accounts. Is this correct? Is there a COA finding like this, 362 million pesos? Can we get more information on why they existed in the first place, and then where did the amounts or the money come from? What were they supposed to be for?
Madam Chair, Your Honor, Yusek POA will answer the question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Your Honor, as to the question on the alleged unauthorized bank accounts, we just looked into this, no? And we were told that these unauthorized accounts were initially tagged unauthorized kasi hindi makita ng COA yung legal basis for the existence of those accounts. Since during the audit, pinakitaan na po sila ng aming finance team ng either MOA or deeds of donation o kung anumang dokumento that bears the reason para dun sa mga accounts na yun. These are actually dormant accounts na karamihan, and we are now in the process of closing down those accounts, Your Honor. So we are just reconciling now. We will be happy to also furnish the committee with a more detailed report on these accounts before the plenary, Your Honor, para mas maintindihan din po natin.
Tsaka para hindi na rin namin itanong doon kasi
Yes, Your Honor.
na-explain na pala.
Yes, Your Honor.
So around 362 million pesos. And
Nasa
then,
ganun po.
na-dormant pa. Tapos bubuhayin natin yung account, then surrender natin sa treasury yung halaga. Is that the overall plan?
Yes, that is correct, Your Honor.
Saan kaya galing ito?
Iba-iba daw pong may mga MOA daw kasi yung mga previous administrations with several entities, whether it be a partnership na may nagdo-donate, kasi usual naman po talaga may nagdo-donate sa DepEd. So we are now identifying all those, and we will submit a detailed report before the plenary para po hindi na to maging issue sa atin.
Sige po, opo.
Thank you po.
Meron din pong issue, tama po ba to na deductions have been made already from the salaries of our teachers to represent GSIS premiums and payments to GSIS loans, and yet the department did not or failed to remit the amounts deducted from the teacher salaries to the GSIS. Is this also correct?
Madam Chair, Your Honor, Yusek Powa will answer the question.
Madam Chair, Your Honor, yes, usual po na nangyayari yan. That's why ang ginagawa po namin ngayon, I came from the GSIS actually prior to joining DepEd. Marami po talagang agencies na nahihirapan mag-remit, whether it be siguro hindi po nagmamatch yung sistema ng agency sa sistema ng GSIS. So right now, we have been having monthly meetings with GSIS. There's an ongoing reconciliation with the premiums as well as the loan remittances para po ma-clean out natin. Minsan po kasi nagre-remit si agency pero sa GSIS wala pa po yung pangalan ng mismong miyembro na yon. So nalalaglag, nagkakaroon ng mga clarificatory items. So right now, Your Honor, we are in the process of reconciliation with the GSIS. We do it regularly. So we hope to reduce, if not eradicate the amounts for reconciliation, Your Honor.
Because the amount which was given to me is 4.4 billion pesos. So marami-rami pong apektado rito. How many people po ito?
Opo, I do not have the information
Must be in the
Pero marami
tens of
po.
thousands?
Yes, marami po. In
Hundreds of thousands?
Yes, I cannot give you a ballpark right now, Your Honor, but in fact, I remember when I was in GSIS, there was also a MOA with DepEd for payment of yung mga nauna na, no, from the 1990s. So sa ngayon, pinagpapatuloy lang namin yung reconciliation noon para malaman kung totoo bang hindi na-remit or na-remit pero nagkaroon lang ng problema in both agencies kaya nalaglag yung bayad, but the money is floating somewhere within the GSIS account. So yan po ay inaayos na po natin sa ngayon, Your Honor.
No, but I'm worried, Madam Secretary, Madam Vice President, kung sabi ni Yusek Powa, since the 1990s. So, this is a 20 to 30-year-old occurrence or problems, and we have not been able to solve it. Is this a software problem? Is this a reporting problem? Is this a hardware problem? Or is this a syndicate problem? Magti-30 years na po, hindi natin alam anong punot dulo.
Your Honor, if I may just, Madam Chair, Your Honor, if I may just clarify. So yung kinukwento ko po kanina was when I was in GSIS, meron pa kasing mga utang yung DepEd sa GSIS noon. So there was a MOA, a tripartite with DBM, GSIS, and DepEd kung saan binayaran na po ng DBM yung mga remittances that time. Ngayon, going forward, kaya po may ganyan pa rin tayong 4.4 billion. It's another case, pero it seems to be a system problem. For example, pagdating sa remittances, may mga timing difference yan. Nakapag-remit na po yung DepEd ng remittance for a certain employee, Pero since bago yung employee, wala pa sa system ng GSIS, so nalalaglag yung payment. This is something that GSIS and both GSIS and DepEd are aware of, and we're trying to already, that's why we have these alignment meetings monthly para makita saan
And
exactly.
you have been aware of this since what year? Sige nga, pakisabi po. DepEd and GSIS have been aware of this problem since blank year. Anong year? Tell me.
Your Honor, I apologize, but I cannot say for sure, but at least on this administration's part, when we entered in July, we started having meetings with the GSIS.
And are you sure, Yusek Powa, that only the new hires are affected?
We are currently checking that right now, Your Honor, and we are making it, titingnan natin kung
Wala
sino
kayong
yung...
feedback? As of now, wala pa hanggang ngayon, wala kayong feedback? Sino apektado dito sa mga glitches na ito? Or let's say, just call them glitches para walang bad faith involved. Let's say glitches. System glitches.
Yes po, meron po tayong feedback.
You cannot say na only the new hires kasi may sinabi ka kanina mga bago eh. Kaya nami-mislead din po ako eh.
Opo.
Opo.
Definitely, hindi lang po to limited sa new hires, Your Honor.
Anyway, yung mga, okay, yung mga computerization sometimes naging ano rin eh, naging hindi rin nakatulong eh. Well, at any rate, at least we're aware, no? At least, yeah, and we thank COA for bringing this to our attention. And how about this 10.1 billion unliquidated cash advances? Is that also in a COA report?
Yes, Your Honor. Yung 10 billion pertain to cash advances mostly sa ating regional offices. As reported by the regional offices and division offices, itong 10 billion was attributable doon sa mga advances na ginawa for the service recognition incentive. Liquidation lang naman yung kailangan po dito. As of today, nababa na po yung 10 billion to 4 billion and ongoing pa rin po yung pagliliquidate. We hope to be able to resolve the issue as soon as possible, Your Honor.
So 10, okay, you're able, so mabilis yun ha? I mean, that's, because this is a recent COA report eh. So 10 billion dun sa report.
Yes po.
Now you're telling us as of this very date, running
billion.
balance ng unliquidated cash advances would be 4 billion, in the vicinity of 4 billion.
Yes, that is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. So there's a big chance baka maayos nyo nga po ito. With the permission of our chairperson, ano lang po, may konti na lang po akong yung mga nag-spike po na budgets, tatanungin ko lang po, school-based feeding program from 5.6 billion this year, tama po ba yun, to an 11.7 billion in the 2024 NEP, possibly also in the GAA. Why this more than 100% increase? I will answer, Madam Secretary.
Yes, Madam Chair, Your Honor, I directed Yusek Powa and the finance cluster of finance strand of the Department of Education to increase the budget in the school-based feeding program. Yusek Powa will answer the question.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Your Honor. Yung reason po ng spike natin from 5.6 to 11.7 is basically to extend po yung feeding days natin from the current 120 to 220 days. Nakikita po kasi natin na from the 120 days, there's a tendency na bumalik yung mga bata to being wasted or severely wasted. So, in-extend lang po natin siya.
Same coverage.
Yes, Your Honor, 1.6 million learners approximately.
Just for the record, that program, that shorter period was implemented even before this term, no? And because I know the public is always asking, syempre papayat ulit kung ganun lang ka-limited yung time, no? But that's not on this this administration. That was a practice due to the limited funds. And it really didn't make that much sense, Your Honor, because if the parents are incapable of keeping up the nutritional supplementation, di ba papayat din ulit yung bata dahil kulang yung kanyang caloric intake.
To 200, 220 days.
So we welcome that.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, we have studied this school-based feeding program, and the effectivity, the usage of funds are well proven, well documented naman. The effectivity, those fed 120 days, kumusta naman sila?
Madam Chair, Your Honor, Asek Galban will answer the question.
Thank you very much for the question. In terms of the feedback, we were able to actually survey our learners in terms of what they felt and experienced as part of the school-based feeding program, wherein 57% noted that they became more enthusiastic and energetic, 52% gained weight during the program, 45% improved their body condition, 51% had strengthened immunity, and 37% became more eager to participate in their modules. And we're able to track also the number of repeaters, and we've seen over the past few years, they've been getting smaller, although of course the progress is delayed by the fact that we are stopping the feeding program after about 4 months. Hence the daunting move of the Department of Education to expand the feeding program to 220 days.
So these are, yes.
Mr. Chair, you've exceeded, but I'm hoping that there will be more time in the end because the others are not really going to ask questions.
Sige po, ito na, let me just telegraph na lang one topic na the textbook and parang learning materials budget also spiked from less than $1 billion, 998 million yan, to 12 billion pesos. Can we know why? Is this a total overhaul or reprinting or reproduction of our learning materials and textbooks?
Madam Chair, Your Honor, we have a correction with the number of days of the feeding program because we submitted the budget before we did the school calendar of school year 2024 to 2023 to 2024. Yes. So this is we only have 188 school days for this school year, and that will be covered. The school-based feeding program will cover the 188 school days. Yes, thank you. With regard to the textbooks, Yusek Gonong will answer the question.
Thank you, Ma'am VP. Thank you, Madam Chair, Your Honor. Your Honor, the spike in the budget for textbooks and learning resources is because we're implementing the new curriculum in 2024. So we're procuring more textbooks. Thank you.
Procuring more textbooks, but existing textbooks are rendered ineffective. Useless.
No, Your Honor, we can still use those textbooks if we can map them with the competencies in the new curriculum.
Was lang, napansin ko lang, Madam Chair, mathematically speaking, times 12. And then, times 12, ang budget niya. And then, when we mention a new curriculum, we are only limiting ourselves to the K to 10. Yun lang naman ang in-announce din ninyo na mayroon ng new curriculum eh. Si 11 to 12, under review pa. Tapos may EDCOM pa, EDCOM 2. Hindi pa natin hinintay ang inputs ng EDCOM 2, which are also potential curriculum changing recommendations. So I do not know, Madam Chair, if it is wise for us to spend this much amount for and then fix the concepts, fix already the text of our learning materials, and yet come 1 or 2 years down the road, we might be needing to change them again because of the EDCOM 2 recommendations. Well, at any rate, siguro, if I can just ask a position, parang a position paper, Madam Chair, if the DepEd can defend the times 12, the 12 billion budget for the textbook and learning materials, in spite of my manifestation that there's an EDCOM 2, and then etc. So in writing na lang po kasi I will give my colleagues the chance to also ask questions.
And we encourage our colleagues to request for whatever materials they need because I will follow up with DepEd on those para before the plenary session, masatisfy yung senator sa answer. Otherwise, we'll have the same discussion in plenary. Okay?
Can I have a quick response, Madam Chair?
You may.
Your Honor, the computation for textbooks is 1:1. Okay, so 1 textbook per learner. And then we also received the recommendations from EDCOM, and we addressed them in the revision of the curriculum. Thank you.
Is that confirmed by EDCOM 2 already gave formal recommendations?
I think it's if with the indulge, I think it's with regard to the K to 10 program, Your Honors. That's how I knew about it.
Okay pa, anyway, siguro as a senator naman, we will await the formal report of the EDCOM 2. Tingnan natin kung magmamatch nga. Sige. Sige po, that is
Do
the
that.
input from Yusek Gonong. But at any rate, the chairperson has given me a note na time's up. Okay, so I yield back to our chairperson.
And hopefully, we will have more time in the end for his honor to do more follow-up questions. Okay, the next person on the list is actually Senator Marcos, but she stepped away. So after Senator Ontiveros, are you ready? Yeah. Okay, Senator Ontiveros, and then Senator Gatchalian, you're next.
Salamat, Madam Chair, and maayong hapon sa liwat, Madam VP. Secretary also. Secretary, Madam Chair, the DepEd has been allocated, following the line of questioning of the Minority Leader, has been allocated confidential funds amounting to 150 million pesos. The present-day Department of Education was eventually mandated through Republic Act 9155, otherwise known as the Governance of Basic Education Act of 2001, which establishes the mandate of this agency. So ano pong mga probisyon nitong RA number 9155 ang nag-authorize ng intelligence collection efforts ng DepEd, Madam Chair?
Yes, in a gist, the mandate of the Department of Education is to provide accessible, equitable, and quality basic education, which necessarily includes a safe and enabling learning environment for learners and safe space for teaching and non-teaching personnel of the Department of Education inside our schools.
So dito po sa providing accessible and the other adjectives of the kind of quality education at saka yung creating the safe environment, dito hinuhugot ng DepEd yung mandate even for intelligence collection efforts, Madam Chair?
Yes, we want to provide a safe and enabling learning environment primarily to our learners, but of course as safe spaces as well for our teaching and non-teaching personnel of the Department of Education. As cited earlier, we have data of the recruitment of minors in insurgency, in violent extremism. We have data on gangsterism in our schools. We are currently working with another government agency with regard to employees' email accounts, DepEd employees' email accounts that are involved in child pornography, and among others, Your Honor.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. I-follow up ko yung puntong iyon about recruitment. But before that, earlier, Madam Secretary, we asked some questions about the confidential funds of the OVP. Similarly, aling mga mandates ng DepEd yung masusuportahan nung aforementioned allocation ng confidential funds?
Your Honor, again, it's providing a safe and enabling learning environment for our learners and safe spaces for teaching and non-teaching Department of Education personnel.
Salamat, Madam Secretary. But again, similar sa isang observation ko sa hearing natin kanina on the OVP budget, may mga secondary mandates or not even mandates, requirements para sa operations, whether ng isang office o ng isang department, that are more properly generated and provided by other, more qualified, dun sa aspetong iyon, more qualified na ahensya ng gobyerno. Under that principle of complementarity of operations ng napakaraming departments at offices at agencies sa ating gobyerno. In any case, Madam Secretary, in general terms, sa aling mga subjects o sa aling mga entities magfo-focus ang DepEd sa kanyang surveillance o intelligence gathering efforts? At anong intelligence tungkol sa mga subjects na ito ang ire-require ng DepEd?
Your Honor, this will be directed in the anti-insurgency, in the anti-terrorism and violent extremism, with regard to pornography, child pornography, drugs cases, criminality, and gangsterism, as well as other sexual exploitation complaints and reports.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. So dito, makakabalik nga ako dun sa una niyong binanggit tungkol sa recruitment. So kung ganito po yung mga sinasabing magiging subject ng surveillance or intelligence gathering, anong magdidistinguish sa efforts ng DepEd in this regard dun sa mga ginagawa na ng AFP, PNP, NICA, NTF-ELCAC at yung iba nating mga security agencies?
Yes, we have a different mandate from the other government agencies. Basically, theirs is very broad. Department of Education is very specific. We target our learners, our teaching and non-teaching DepEd personnel.
Madam Sec, I appreciate yung pagdidistinguish nyo sa mandates, but on the contrary, I would say, dahil DepEd budget ang pinag-uusapan natin ngayon, sa usapin ng edukasyon, ang may broad mandate ay yung DepEd. At yung may specific, mamaya itatanong ko nga kasi specialized or niche mandate, ay yung mga security agency. So yes, different mandates, pero yung may broad mandate sa edukasyon in general would be DepEd, and yung specific would be those security agencies. And tinatanong ko po ito because it seems na yung pag-generate ng useful intelligence ay napaka-specialized, even niche na professional activity. At para makuha itong useful intelligence, kailangan may kahit papanong control mula dun sa end user or users as to anong intelligence yung kinakailangan. Tapos yung information, kailangan kolektahin nga sa iba't ibang sources, kailangan siyang i-collate, kailangan i-analyze, tapos gagawin siya into yung intelligence na eventually i-disseminate dun sa end user. Tulad ng in this case, DepEd, end user. Hindi yung generator, pero yung end user. So the cycle can begin again. At kaya nga, nabanggit ko rin kanina umaga, kaya nga this process, commonly referred to siya as the intelligence cycle. So in what ways po itong mga requirements, itong mga steps sa intelligence cycle, in what ways ito mashe-share o maka-coordinate, halimbawa kahit sa OVP, as well as mashe-share o maka-coordinate dun ulit sa NICA, sa PNP, sa AFP, sa NTF-ELCAC, para ma-reduce yung duplication of efforts?
Yes. Your Honor, I did not say broad mandate in education. I said broad mandate in their specific function of surveillance. The other government agencies, particularly PDEA, PNP, AFP, they have a very broad mandate. They do not focus on basic education, the learners, and the teaching and non-teaching personnel of the Department of Education. On the other hand, the Department of Education, we are present, we are there hand in hand with the learners and our teaching and non-teaching personnel. We are very specific in our surveillance that we only conduct it in our schools. And of course, if the illegal activity involves learners of our schools or teachers of our schools, but it happens outside of the school. As to your other question, Your Honor, with regard to the processing of intelligence information, you are correct. This is precisely the reason why we hired security consultants in the Department of Education, wherein our field operations directly coordinate with our two security consultants, and these two security consultants liaise with the Philippine National Police and the Armed Forces of the Philippines and other law enforcement agencies with regard to actionable intelligence information.
Salamat, Madam Secretary. So I stand corrected. Ang sinabi ng Good Secretary ay yung may broad mandate dito sa surveillance, etc. ay yung mga intelligence and securities agencies. Pero sinasabi nyo pa rin na may specific mandate kahit sa intelligence at surveillance na yon, yung DepEd. So even as I stand corrected, I would still aver na in terms of the intelligence collection and collation, analysis, and turning into useful intelligence. I would even say na even that, kahit sa context ng educational sector or system na pinamumunuan ng DepEd, still remains with the intelligence and security agencies. Dahil kahit sa paghawak at paggamit, kaninang umaga sinabi ng Good Secretary, Vice President na yung VP SPG nag-a-adjust depende sa intelligence na ibinibigay sa kanya and gumagawa ng rekomendasyon sa OVP. In the same way, I would still aver na if we leave intelligence to the experts, kahit sa loob ng DepEd, nananatili siyang intelligence user. Pero yung nag-generate ng intel is still yung mga intel agencies natin. And lalo na po, when yung sinasabi ng Good Secretary na activities or groups na sinosurveil are doing their activities outside the schools. So lalo nang outside the physical spaces ng education system, lalo nang ang whether broad or specific mandate ay nananatiling yung mayroon talagang intel mandate sa ating bansa, sa ating gobyerno. At ito yung mga intelligence agencies and not DepEd itself, except as an intelligence user sa tail end ng intelligence cycle. Madam Chair, Madam Secretary.
Yes, Madam Chair, Your Honor. Yes, you can aver, and we take note of your assertion, Madam, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Secretary, Madam Chair. Moving on to some general questions tungkol sa enrollment rate. While the department is pushing for the improvement of quality of education, it's concerning that we are failing to reach the 100% enrollment rate of the 28.8 million school-age population, one of DepEd's most fundamental goals. Hindi po ba ito yung first test of education leadership? Makakapasok lahat, walang batang maiiwan tulad sa video kanina. So kung ganun pa rin, anong strategies ang pinaplano ng DepEd para ma-implementa yung prevention ng bilang na ito from dropping further? Madam Chair.
Yes, Yusek Poa will answer the question.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Yes, as to the enrollment rate, if I may just start with baka po kasi misleading rin yung current number of enrollees natin sa ngayon. Last year po kasi 28.4 tayo. Of course, we're also targeting to be within that range for this year. Today, if I'm not mistaken, nasa 25.2 million po yung enrollees natin. But we feel or we are of the position that this might just be a timing difference. Kasi po karamihan po sa atin, mahilig sa last day, kumbaga, hindi pa nag-e-enroll. At ang nangyayari, pag pumapasok na po yung bata sa school, doon lang nako-confirm yung enrollment po nila. And it takes time for the schools to encode and transmit to the central office. So we are observing for another week or two just to see po kung ano ang datos natin. But we usually, ang last day po ng enrollment natin for late enrollees are within the month of September. But we will hopefully, Your Honors, even before the plenary, we can at least give you an updated report on what is indicatively our enrollment for this year. Secondly, doon naman po sa overall efforts, as you know, school-based feeding program is actually one of the ways na hindi napapansin, pero ito yung ways to prevent yung ating mga dropouts. Kasi maraming nagda-drop out dahil kailangan magtrabaho, walang makain, no? So yung pag binibigyan natin ng pagkain yung bata, it also helps encourage the families na i-enroll yung mga bata. It also improves not only academic performance but improves enrollment rates. Another would be yung ALS natin, yung Alternative Learning System. Ang ginagawa naman po dyan, basta yung age-appropriate pa na ALS learner, once mapasok po siya sa ALS, ini-encourage nating mabalik sa formal schooling system. So these are the two programs. Of course, we will not stop there. We are still monitoring kung ano ba talaga yung mga reasons ng mga dropouts natin at unti-unti tayong mag-cultivate ng mga programs targeted towards that, Your Honor. Thank you po.
Thank you rin, Yusek. I have a couple of questions also about the school-based feeding program sa patapos ng interpellation ko sa budget ng department. Moving on to the blended learning program, Madam Chair, during the 2024 DepEd budget deliberation at the House of Representatives, you stated that DepEd is pursuing another track to improve basic education, that the department wants to institutionalize the blended learning program and are eyeing to leverage technology in pursuit of this plan. So, kung ganon, with that pronouncement in mind, pwede po bang malaman yung rationale sa likod ng 2.45 billion peso decrease sa computerization program budget? Kasi kung naghahanap po tayo ng heavier dependence and reliance sa ICT para i-improve yung delivery of basic education, bakit hindi ito nagtutugma sa trend ng budget allocation at tila may dissonance sa pagitan ng pronouncements at saka budget allocation, Madam Chair?
Madam Chair, Your Honor, Yusek Poa will answer the question.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Your Honor. Dun po sa tanong kung bakit bumaba pa yung computerization program budget natin, it's because actually mataas po yung initial proposal niya, no? Pero this year, we still have yung ating 2022 continuing funds na hindi pa po nagamit kasi hindi na po tayo bumili ng karagdagang laptops last year. So this year po, ang binibili natin ay mga tinatawag na e-learning carts, yung pong may laman na 46 units ng laptop for each cart. At yun po ay nasimulan lang natin this year. In fact, this year's budget, if I'm not mistaken, is around 16 billion just for DCP. So minarapat po namin na 8 billion po muna yung i-propose natin just to ensure na ma-utilize muna natin lahat ng budget natin this year kasi kahit po yung 2023 may tendency na maging continuing fund siya for next year. But of course, best efforts is ma-procure po natin, ma-obligate at ma-disperse lahat ng DCP funds natin this year. And then 8 billion for next year, which we feel will be sufficient. And then from there, we will again strategize, see if there is a need for more budget, basing on our absorptive capacity to also procure these items. And we will propose accordingly during the next budget cycle, Your Honor.
Pero Yusek, kung i-combine yung continuing funds nyo 2022, tapos yung 8B, sasapat na yon para i-cover yung gastos nyo dapat sa computerization program sa susunod na taon, 2024?
At to be honest, hindi pa po natin mako-cover talaga lahat ng schools, Your Honor. But since ngayon namin i-roll out itong e-learning card, sa totoo lang, it's really more of an exercise of fiscal responsibility. Gusto nating makita muna kung talagang ano ba yung timeline pag-procure. And then we were, to be honest, a bit conservative with the 8 billion for next year. But based on our performance in terms of budget utilization dyan sa DC program this year and next year, we will propose an appropriate budget, Your Honor, going forward.
At pag sinabi nyo, Yusek, na mas gusto nyo makita muna, so may ano bang term na yon? Pag nagro-roll out but on a trial basis, just missing. Not exactly Pilot, opo. May pagka-pilot po ba yung computerization program as of next year? And kung ganon, anong percentage ng mga eskwelahan sa basic education level ang tina-target ng department ma-cover na?
Thank you. We can say that in a way, Your Honor, because yung, di ba dati pong binibili natin laptops for teachers, no? Even laptops for non-teaching personnel. Ngayon lang talaga magpo-full-blown tayo sa e-learning cards. Although there were schools, I understand from the previous years na nabigyan ng e-learning cards as a test. Ngayon po lang tayo yung, kumbaga ito na yung direction natin na mag-e-learning cards tayo. For the specific numbers, if I may just pass you on to the USEC for admin who will have the base, kasi siya po yung USEC for IT also, he will have at least the deliverables in terms of the e-learning cards, Your Honor.
Thank you, USEC. Madam Chair, kung maaari yung isang USEC.
Sige, go ahead. Is it
Yes,
Yusek?
Yusek Mempin.
Mempin, okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Your Honor, actually, Your Honor, for 2022, we have actually, for 22 and 23, we have 6,416 e-learning cards, consists of 295,136 laptops. Then, actually, aside from the e-learning card for the high school, we are giving also smart TV packages for our elementary schools, which consists of 2,985 smart TV packages, consists of 14,925 smart TV. Also, for 22 and 2023, we are also giving 60,110 laptops for teachers and 10,719 laptops for the non-teaching, because the Department of Education downloaded some of the ancillary tasks from our teachers to the admin officer and PDO personnel. So that's for the 2022 and 2023 budget, and for 2024 NEP, or our proposed budget, we are targeting to provide 1,410 e-learning card, consists of 64,860 laptops, and also 5,818 smart TV packages, with 34,500 laptops for teachers, and 4,001 laptop for non-teaching personnel. Actually, ma'am, if we will be asked how long we will be able to have a 1:1 ratio, for up to 2028, we actually need 181 billion to have enough laptops for our learner, teachers, and non-teaching personnel. But we have also to factor in the life of the laptops or IT, which is average 5 years, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Yusek.
Senator,
Yes, Madam Chair.
You're overtime na.
Okay. If I may just
Yes.
at least put on
Let's try
record
to have
my...
second round.
Okay, Madam Chair. Or,
Kasi we still have about 4 or 5 senators.
yes po. Or if I can just put on record my questions para rin
Yeah. Of
mapag-isipan na rin ng
Kung pwede
DepEd.
mabilis lang.
Yes,
kasi
mabilis
baka
lang
hindi
po.
na tayo umabot pa lang sa iba na kaya
Yes.
naman.
Yes, Madam Chair, I promise. And also, okay, yung last follow-up question ko kay Yusek, maybe for answering also in the second round. So given yung mga na-provide nyo na e-learning cards, smart TV packages at saka laptops nung 2022, ngayong 2023 at balak nyo sa 2024, by 2024, ilang percent na ng mga schools natin ang na-cover? 50% na ba? 25% pa lang? 75% na ba? And then, so salamat Yusek. And Madam Chair, just for the record, yung itatanong ko na lang sa second round ay actually parang dalawang tanong na lang. Well, okay. Isa pang tanong sa blended learning program, kung nakapagkondukta ang DepEd ng study o evaluation sa readiness ng mga paaralan natin, ng mga estudyante at ng kanilang mga pamilya para sa blended learning. And then, last two questions nga dun sa school-based feeding program na tinalakay ni Yusek Powa kanina. So yung mga tanong doon, follow up sa tanong ni Minority Leader kanina, ganong ka-confident ang DepEd na ma-achieve yung mga targets at objectives niya dun sa FP sa susunod na taon? And lastly, ano yung current actions na ina-undertake ng DepEd para siguruhin na wala nang delays sa implementasyon ng feeding program at na yung pondo na i-authorize ng Kongreso ay may-utilize properly para ma-achieve yung mga objective ng programs. And last of all, Madam Chair, for this first round, just to reiterate yung sinabi ko rin kaninang umaga dun sa interpellation natin sa budget ng OVP regarding intelligence, the whole intelligence cycle, starting from surveillance onward. Let's leave intel to the experts and let our offices and departments, OVP man, DepEd man, at lahat ng iba pa sa ating gobyerno, focus on their true mandates. So maraming salamat, Madam Chair, at muli, Madam Secretary.
Thank you. Please take note of those questions. No, my office will also follow up para we can give Senator Riza her responses. Just to tie in the questions also, I just need to put this on record because this is also an output of EDCOM regarding textbooks and computerization. No, what we know is, and this again is before the time of the secretary or the team. No. Since 2012, the only grade levels that had complete textbook is grade 5 and 6. And then there's a smattering of classes in grade 4 and some in grade 8 and some in grade 9 would have textbooks. Otherwise, no textbook ang K1, 2, 3, talagang none. Very few sa 10, and none in 7. I have a visual, no? I'm sure you're aware of this. So this is our reality, no? Dinatnan nyo na ito, walang sisihan, dinatnan nyo ito. So now, obviously, you want to have a bigger textbook budget, but the textbook budget that you're referring to, which is 12 billion, is only meant to cover grades 2, 3, K1, 4, and 7. For this year's, for 2024 implementation, which means grade 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, and 9, and 10, wala pa sila sa schedule ng implementation ng books because this is a staggered implementation. So in the meantime, walang books to. Module, precisely why you probably were saying we have to resort to blended learning and so on and so forth. So this is where the proposal I gave during the briefing that we had is that you should really study at this point the option of digitalizing these books. And the answer, I know you said you've already started the discussions, and the initial concerns are yung copyright nila and how they will be compensated. But these are obstacles that we need to find solutions to because at the end of the day, it is also a sustainable model dahil yung papel, hindi tayo gagastos ng papel. Number 2, yung error should be easier to change digitally and the corrections and editing should be much faster. So baka between now and the budget season, the sessions on the floor, baka we can have faster, we can move forward because there's no physical way na kahit doblehin yata yung budget nyo, hindi nyo mafa-fast track yung textbook. So ganun din eh. And yet yung sa uploading sa mga very basic na tablets, baka mas mura pa. So you can reply, you don't have to reply. There might be similar questions. I just wanted to put that out there to add to the questions that were already asked.
Yes,
Sure,
Madam Chair,
VP.
may we request a 10-minute health break? We will
Actually,
answer the questions.
I was about to say, in the interest of time, anybody can step up and go to the restroom if you're willing to continue. Pero if you all just want to take a break, of course, you're entitled to have a break.
Yes,
So
just 5 minutes because
Okay.
it will be me and Yusek
the
Poa.
two
Yes.
answering. Okay,
Yes,
of
thank
course.
you.
Of course. So a few minutes suspension. Anybody else for that matter. And pag hindi kayo tumayo ngayon, pwede pa rin kayo tumayo mamaya. Kasi okay lang sa akin yon. Basta pag kayo, Yusek Poa, you wanted to respond? Was that to my question? Okay, or my observation?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As to your observations, yes, we discussed briefly during the preliminaries na kinausap na natin yung mga publishers on the possibility of obtaining or procuring e-textbooks. And I do agree with you if it's a copyright issue kasi generally positive naman po yung reception eh. Copyright lang yung concern. And as lawyers, we know it can easily be packaged. So perhaps I will try to meet most, if not all of them again prior to plenary para po may mabigyan ako kahit broad stroke updates on the package, Your Honor.
And if you work well with NEDA, I can, maybe you can ask NEDA to join you because it's a sustainable effort in the future.
Yes, Your Honor.
And it's NEDA who's in charge of sustainability. Of course, we all are, no, in our own agencies, but and NEDA, I'm sure, can assist.
We will
also.
do that, Your Honor.
Okay. So, Senator Gatchalian, you have the floor.
Madam
The
Chair.
chairman of our Committee on Basic Ed, who said, Madam Chair. Ay, ma'am, kayo.
Yes. Sorry. I think we need to explain further about the blended learning program. So right now, we do not have it formalized within the Department of Education. What we do is that if there is a learning disruption brought about by armed conflict, by disasters or emergencies, we do the template of the pandemic with regard to switching the learners to modules or online. But the blended learning program that is envisioned for the Department of Education as one of the tracks to solve the problems of basic education is that we need the backbone of IT. So right now, what we're doing are the e-cards. These are basically e-libraries on wheels because it would be expensive if we build the computer laboratory and then furnish it with the computers. So what we did was come up with e-cards so that the library on wheels will move from classroom to classroom instead of us looking for additional funds, building a computer laboratory. And then the other one is the online and offline platform of all the learning materials and learning resources that we need to implement a blended learning program. And then the other one is we are currently mapping out the schools with connectivity. So we target 100% connectivity for all our schools by the end of the term of President Marcos, whether by fiber or satellite or other modes of connectivity for the school, depending on the situation on the ground. And then finally, with regard to e-libraries, this is a mandate of President Marcos. He wants all the resources for basic education available online. So we are currently working on this. Yusek Poa did an initial meeting with the publishers. We opened to them that we want e-books. They were very positive in their response with regard to e-books. So we just need to thresh out the details and come up with a win-win solution with regard to legalities. And then we are pursuing another hindi ko kasi masabi siya dito, ma'am, kasi baka magalit yung mga publishers, pero meron kaming pinaplano na isa pa to come up with an e-library for basic education. So these are the things that we are currently working on to finally launch a proper blended learning program. But right now, what we are doing is we use the template of the pandemic, which is, we know, not enough. But we do it so that there will be no learning disruption anymore if there is a problem in the classroom or in person. classes. So, yan po yung mga ginagawa namin for blended learning. We are not ready with the correct blended learning program that we want to implement in the Department of Education. We hope to be ready next year with the in time for the phased implementation of the Matatag curriculum, but we will update you as we go along the months and the incoming days of this school year and during the basic education report on January. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Madam VP. Yes.
Madam Chair, in line with your permission, in line with the statement of the Vice President on schools that don't have connectivity, I'd like to know whether the DepEd has a list or database of all DepEd schools all over the country with zero connectivity, whether through fiber optic or satellite. Because in my own home province, it's so life-changing when we had installed Starlink technology in Bundok na DepEd school. Wow, you could see the faces of the children. Sa Kulasi, Sibalom, and Hamtik, and some were indigenous people's children. The others were Kasimano, Antikeños, but you see how their lives have changed, and the teachers and principal as well. So we saw that. Perhaps we cannot cull it from the budget of DepEd, but when we look at the budget, the ICT, they should target and put in their budget learning as a priority. So if DepEd could share that with the ICT, it can be a Senate amendment to include schools with big population, learning population, but zero connectivity. I would just like to know from DepEd. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes. Yusek Mempin can answer with regard to, when we came in, Madam Chair, Your Honor, there was a contract from the previous administration with regard to a satellite provider, but we are also coordinating with the ICT with regard to their Starlink project. Yusek Mempin can expound on the satellite connectivity of our schools.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Your Honor, actually, the Department of Education, right now we have 63% internet connectivity with our elementary schools, while 71% for junior high school connectivity and 68% internet connectivity for our senior high school. But as to the specific areas without connectivity, we will submit the specific location with no internet connection at all, even with alternative mode, which is through satellite. But right now, we have tapped the internet service of Starlink for a proof of concept, and actually we have 19 schools as pilot schools. Then we are awaiting for their official report, so that from there we could trace out how we could avail of the programs or the service of Starlink, so that we will have, eventually, we'll have zero internet or zero classroom interruptions, as mentioned by our Vice President and Secretary, during calamities or man-made calamities, ma'am.
Pahingi na lang po nung listahan nung zero ang connectivity para po matulungan natin. Pangalawa po, isang araw lang yung pagkabit ng Starlink. Tuwang-tuwa ako nung sa amin sa bundok at talagang life-changing. 5. But these were all personal donation ko kasi wala pa yung DICT funds for that. So what's applicable in my province could be applicable in other GIDA areas around the country. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. We will submit, particularly those schools under GIDA's areas, ma'am.
Senator Angara?
Just a
Sorry,
Short
ma'am.
intervention in,
Yes,
yeah, of
Madam
course, of
Chair,
course.
sorry. May I just add, we'll come up with a cleaner list because I've been asking field operations with regard to connectivity. Kasi baka naman, pag sinabi nilang doon sa field, pag sinabi nilang connectivity, internet lang para sa teachers. At hindi yung internet na ginagamit sa classroom sa pagtuturo. Gusto ko lang i-clarify yan kasi baka merong mag-comment galing sa field na yes, meron kaming connectivity pero hindi naman nagagamit sa klase. We'll come up with a cleaner list because I've been asking them to say whether the internet is available for all students or it's just available for the faculty. Yes, thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Angara?
Yes, thank you. In connection with what's been said, Madam Chair, I think some very good ideas regarding the use of internet. Pero are we aiming, ma'am, for a full-time connection to the internet? Kasi sa tingin ko, what's important is there's enough time for the students to download into an e-book.
Yeah.
Just time to download their lessons. But they don't need that internet for the whole day. So if we could just be strategic kasi pag inantay natin yun and we aim for to maximize yung may internet tayo sa bawat eskwelahan, baka hindi na tayo, it's just like the classrooms, we'll be chasing di ba? We'll forever chasing something that's moving forward ahead of us, just like classrooms, just like teachers. So we need to kind of leapfrog in a way, no? And the way I see it is, number one, yung sinabi ni Senator Lauren, yung sa free Wi-Fi, kasi may free Wi-Fi law tayo. Why don't we ask the DICT to prioritize strategically located public schools para, let's say, students from a barangay na malayo, hindi na nila kailangan dun mag-aral kahit mahirap yung internet dun sa kanila. But maybe once in a week, they can go there and download their books to an e-book. And then, dun sila sa malalayong barangay nila, pero nandun na sa kanilang tablet yung ano. Of course, the problem there is yung kuryente. Pero siguro naman, pwede na silang bigyan ng chargers for that, no? So yun, dovetailing it with the free Wi-Fi law. And then also, maybe strategizing na yung internet at strategic points in time just to be able to download the lessons into the e-books. The way, di ba? Kasi devices now, you have a small Kindle or Amazon reader. You have your whole library already there, di ba? So it's practically an encyclopedia in your hands. So.
Madam Chair, Your Honor, yes, the order of President Marcos is to make it available online and offline. So we are currently as well exploring technology, cloud technology. Yun yung sinasabi nila na mag-iwan lang ng cloud, tapos ina-update lang yung cloud. And from the cloud, doon sa school, gagamitin siya ng mga learners. So we are currently pursuing offline and online technology with regard to learning resources.
Madam Chair, just to put on record, Madam Chair, if I may, Madam Chair, if I may, let me just put on record, we got this from DICT. We have free public Wi-Fi sites as of April 28, 2023. We have 15 public libraries, public schools 992, SUCs, including TESDA institutions, 1,550. So right now, we have a total of 3,961 free Wi-Fi sites. But the target for the coming year is 9,612. So that's the target. Just want to put that on record. I think it would be helpful in our discussion. Thank you.
I hope narinig ni Senator Lauren yon because you wanted the list, no? Baka your office can furnish to Senator Lauren. Okay, so finally, mga 5 beses ko na tinawag si Senator Sherwin Gatchalian.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Pwede ba?
Yes, go ahead.
Madam Chair, may I just manifest? I asked Senator Lauren and when she was done, and then now it's
There's also,
Senator.
okay,
Very
I have no
quickly.
problem, but there's a couple of other people who are I thought you were going to manifest at the end, so.
Oh, at
with
the end.
permission
Okay, I
of the
can
others, because there's still a
No,
few
I
others.
can manifest at the end. I thought
Okay.
I didn't understand what your instructions
It's up
were.
to you guys. Oh, so lahat ng nauna, okay ba sa
birthday
inyo? May
privilege.
mag-manifest?
Kahapon
ladies
pa,
first?
pero sige, if you'll give that
Oh, yan.
privilege, I will accept.
Hindi naman nakikinig yung iba. Go ahead, take it. Nagkwekwentuhan sila dun eh. Go ahead.
No, thank you, Madam Chair. To the Secretary, I would like to thank you, first of all, because your target for the feeding program has actually increased. The target last year was about more than 1 million, but you were actually able to feed more than 3 million. And thank you also for proposing an increased budget in the school-based feeding program, because I guess as a mother, you know that children cannot really function properly if they're hungry. Just maybe a manifestation, because this one, medyo hati yung pananaw ng mga tao. Meron po kayong instruction na wag maglagay, magpaskil, maski na ano sa mga classrooms. And I understand, kasi maraming mga politiko sa mga probinsya ang naglalagay ng kung kani-kaninong mga litrato. Pero yung mga iba naman sinasabi, baka naman pag kindergarten, pwede yung mga alphabets o kung ano man yung instructional material, yung hindi naman overpowering na nandun. Suggestion nga ni Senator Cheese, kung talagang gusto daw ng mga politiko na nandun yung mukha nila, pwede daw sila mag-post A. Nakaganon. Tapos C. No, but what I'm saying is, so to the Secretary, yung mukha ng mga politiko, no? So, maybe just clarification on that point. There are others maybe in nursery school that might benefit from that. I was wondering if the Secretary will be flexible to that. And that's all. That's all for today. Thank you for supporting the feeding program. And then maybe visual reminders in classrooms that we can clarify later on. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Did you want to respond?
Yes, we will take note of your suggestion, Honorable Senator Grace Poe.
I knew Senator Grace Poe would mention the feeding program. No, that's really been her pet project for the whole time that she's been here. So I'll also put this on record because it's an output of EDCOM, no, and the Senate panel of EDCOM is complete. We are complete. For the first time. But let me put this on record. Don't mind the banters behind me. We are happy to note that the budget for the feeding program, the school-based feeding program, has been increased by a large amount. Now it's now at 11.7 billion. I think that's what Senator Grace is happy about. But we do need to point out, and ECCD is here. Dr. Inchong made a presentation to EDCOM that, and it's a given. No one here will disagree that the early years are the most important years, and to make our feeding initiative in this early stage can also spell a big difference. And the need now for the early feeding programs is at 5.5 billion to increase an already existing program that captures 209 municipalities and 1.4 almost children under 5 years old, 171,000 children 0 to 6, 6 to 23 months. I won't give the numbers, you can find it, but including also pregnant women. And all of this we will practically double with a 5.5 billion. So I will ask Madam VP for you to confer with the team. The Senate hopefully can find additional funding for this. But I'd like to post it also because what DepEd is targeting now with the 11 billion is severely wasted children, which obviously have to be addressed. That's 3.45 billion for them. And then the wasted children are 8.25. So if we can come up with the additional 5 billion for the earlier interventions, then wala na tayong, then you know, it's the best step forward. But if we cannot, may I ask you to start thinking if there's a way that you can share the funding with ECCD. So, yun lang naman. I'll just post it there. We can talk in more details, no? So, I will give the floor finally to Senator Gatchalian. Thank you.